Hi,
Hi.
my name is Jonathan Foster, and I got a degree in biology from the University of South Alabama. Here's a picture of my degree, and here's a picture of my transcript with my GPA on it. As you can tell, my GPA sucks, but I still got a job. So my work experience as a biologist is mostly in the environmental consulting field. 2022 right now, I graduated in 2020 and I started in the environmental consulting field as a stormwater slash environmental specialist. Very fancy title for field monkey. I was out in the field a lot. I did a lot of construction stormwater inspections. I did a lot of what are called phase 1 environmental site assessments, and I did what's called radon testing. Here's my radon certification card, I guess. Basically, you just sit through a class and you take a test with that National Radon Proficiency Program, and they give you a certification and you're allowed to test for radon. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Here's my certification card for stormwater inspections. I'm a glorified dirt police. Basically, I look around a construction site at their erosion control measures and tell the contractor, hey, this is going wrong, you need to fix this. And they probably wouldn't fix it, but we did our job and we got paid. In that role, I also did a few wetland delineations. That's a big thing in the environmental consulting world. If you build a house on a wetland, that's bad. And so you want to delineate those wetlands. And so as a biologist, I worked with geologists, marine biologists to delineate those wetlands. So I did that one for about 11 months out of college. And then I transitioned into a job as a staff scientist with another environmental consulting firm, and their primary client was a very large corporation that owned paper mills, and they had several other paper mill clients, but we did a lot of work for one specific client. I looked at engineering drawings of gas lines that go throughout these paper mills to see if they were leaking. And I looked at oil containing containers and made sure that they weren't leaking. That's what I did. Like 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. I traveled around the state and several other surrounding states, and I did that all day, every day. And that's not what I wanted to do with my career. I looked for other positions in the stormwater field, which is what I really enjoyed. After about 5 months with that company, I got a job in which I work now as stormwater and erosion control coordinator for a local municipality. It's pretty great. I am just, again, a field guy that does some paperwork. I keep up with this city's MS4 permit, all of the requirements for that, and I do a lot of infrastructure inspections for storm sewer. So the next thing I want to talk about is finding a job out of college. Do I need to have some sort of cum laude, summa cum laude, magna cum laude? The answer to that question is no, you do not. Especially as a biologist, they just want to know that you've got a degree pretty much. I applied to several jobs out of college. Literally for 2 months, 8 hours a day, I was like reading job postings, applying to them. I heard back from maybe 10 out of 100, and I got interviews with 3. They're very picky. They want, for an entry-level position, they want you to either have a master's or 2 to 3 years of experience in these biology jobs. And the jobs I was applying for were like lab tech jobs in environmental consulting and in health, and jobs kind of like I had for my first job, which was looking at stormwater sites and groundwater remediation. I did a good bit of that in my first job. Those are the kind of jobs that I was applying for. Like I said, they want a lot of experience, they want a lot of education, and I just didn't have that. They didn't really care about a GPA. Not once was I asked for a transcript or a diploma. Not once was I asked for that until I got this job that I am in currently with the municipality. You know, I've probably applied for 130 jobs over the past 2 years. I've gotten interviews with like 7 or 8 just because I have no qualifications other than having a degree and having a co-op for 2 semesters in college. It's gonna be hard to find a job right out of college if you don't have any sort of like co-op experience. So I'd really encourage you to get an internship or a co-op. I did it with the Department of Environmental Management for my state. I really enjoyed it. I did a lot of water sampling. I did construction site inspections, mostly just sampled water. That's pretty much all we did. And I enjoyed it a lot. And you might too, if you're a biologist and you enjoy being outside. I would encourage you to, if you want some of those like higher paying salaries, I would probably go get a master's, work part-time, or maybe even full-time as some like lab tech or as a research assistant or a grad assistant. And I think that's probably the best way to do that. Or you could diversify. And there are several other degrees that kind of go along with biology that complement it very well, especially if you're going to be in the environmental consulting field. Now I'm going to tell you about some potential paths that you could take with a degree in biology. So the number one field is probably environmental consulting, sort of what I talked about earlier, wetlands and natural resources. Those are huge fields in biology and environmental consulting. Another one is construction stormwater. Like I said, a lot of that kind of ties in with wetlands and natural resources stuff. You want construction stormwater protection. Another thing is nuisance species management. I did this a little bit in my second job. How do I phrase this? We managed the hogs that were on property, and they were tearing up equipment, they were tearing up product, they were going into warehouses, they were an issue. And so we managed them in the best way that we knew how, and that was approved by the government. Another species management type thing is endangered species management. So, you know, monarch butterflies, certain birds are endangered in my area. We have to protect them by not allowing construction in those areas or mitigation of those areas. And so you would basically go out in the field, get a survey of how much of that endangered species is in the area, and you would write a report, you would give them a map, and you would tell them basically this is where you can't build or this is where you have to mitigate. Another thing, like I mentioned earlier, is a phase 1 environmental site assessment. And so basically what you would be doing is working with a bank or with a buyer of a property, and basically they just want to see if there's anything hazardous or oil containing on the property that's either contaminated the groundwater or the soil. And if there is, then there's another thing called a phase 2 environmental site assessment where they see how bad it is and they try to remediate that. We did field work, we did reports, and there are other things that you might be able to do within that phase 1 ESA or phase 2 ESA. Radon is one thing that I really enjoyed checking for in my one of my previous jobs. Basically, it's a radioactive element that's in the air and that can cause cancer. We checked for that with these little discs that had activated charcoal in them. Another thing is hazardous waste management. I've never done any of this personally, but I know a lot of biologists that have. Hazardous waste permitting for landfills, for recycling centers, groundwater monitoring. I've done a good bit of this. Gas stations have gas spills, and they have underground storage tanks that leak. Well, you have to remediate that, and you have to check how much gas is still in the water. So groundwater monitoring is a good way to figure that out. lab techs. I applied for several of these jobs with environmental firms, with construction firms, radon firms, and basically you would apply a lot of your labs, what you learned in your biology labs, to this field. I got an interview with a maker of activated charcoal, activated carbon, and it was a very nasty job, and I did not want to do it. So, but if that's something that you're interested in, and if you want to do lab work for the rest of your life or for part of your life, then by all means go for it. That's open to you. Anyway, so that's all I have for environmental consulting. There are several other things that you could do in environmental consulting. And if you have a suggestion and an idea, maybe I'm missing something, I probably did, leave it in the comments. So let's move on. Agriculture is another field that you can get into very easily with a biology degree. I know several friends that are in the agricultural field with the USDA. Another thing that you can do besides working in like plant pathology is natural resources. You can be a lab tech. I've seen a good number of people go into soil science. This could also be in the environmental consulting field. I know a lot of people that are soil scientists, and they do erosion control stuff. And so let's move on to healthcare. I've mentioned healthcare before, like being a lab tech and applying for those jobs. But yeah, if you have a biology degree and no experience, you can probably get in like a third shift at like someplace like LabCorp. Medical school is another thing that you can do with your biology degree. You can go into nursing school, you can go into PA school. I know with the nursing, you'll probably have to take some prerequisites before you can get into the program if you've graduated with a biology degree. You can further your education with a biology degree because biology has so many other disciplines inside of it: chemistry, geology, with water and with soils, and GIS as well. A lot of my work is based around maps and making maps and showing clients and my bosses like, hey, this is where this is on the map. And so if you wanted to diversify and get a different degree than biology, you could do that very easily. You might have to take some prerequisites. I know several people that have gone that way to get a degree in something that's not biology. If you wanted to stay in education and get a master's, get a PhD, you can do that very easily, I feel like, as long as you have a decent GPA above a 3.0. Some people will take a 2.5 or above. And several colleges will give you conditional admission if you have below a 2.5, as long as you have a good GRE score, or you've been working while you were in school and that's the reason you have a 2.5, or you have some other valid reason. The education field, from what I understand, is very good to go into. Here in my state, they get state retirement at a lot of these schools. You can go to community college and work part-time and as an adjunct, and also have a full-time job in environmental consulting or agriculture or healthcare and teach labs on the side. One of my chemistry professors, she worked full-time and she taught our 6 to 9 p.m. organic chemistry lab. I hope this video has helped. I hope it's been clear. If it's not been and you need some clarity on it, please don't be afraid to comment. And please like and subscribe and share this video with anybody that you think this may help. Thanks.